An emergency airworthiness directive was issued yesterday for some Airbus planes. What was in that? Hi, I'm Morgan, and this is an aviation safety alert. This is the press release from Airbus dated November 28th, 2025, an analysis of an event involving an A320 aircraft revealed that intense solar radiation may corrupt data critical to the functioning of flight controls. Airbus also identified a significant number of planes within the A320 family that are currently in service and may be impacted. The Airbus newsroom account on X stated that the fix for some of these A320 aircraft has been causing significant logistical challenges and delays since yesterday. The European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, released the Emergency Airworthiness Directive last night, November 28th, and the FAA released an Emergency Airworthiness Directive today, and that AD number is 2025-24-51. This Emergency Airworthiness Directive applies to all of the A319 models listed here, the A320 models listed here, and the A321 models listed. The FAA Emergency Airworthiness Directive states that the FAA is issuing this emergency AD to address a malfunction to the affected ELAC. It's an unsafe condition that could lead to an uncommanded elevator movement that may result in exceeding the aircraft's structural capability and consequent loss of continued safe flight and landing. As a result of the FAA's bilateral agreement with the State of Design Authority, which would be an aircraft that is manufactured outside of the United States, it has notified the FAA of an unsafe condition described in the MCAI described above. The FAA is issuing this Emergency Airworthiness Directive after determining that the unsafe condition described previously is likely to exist or develop in other products of the same type and design. The EASA directive stated that it was applicable as of November 29th, and this FAA directive states that the effective date is upon receipt. The FAA directive does cite some exceptions to the EASA Emergency Airworthiness Directive that was issued. So where the EASA Emergency AD refers to the effective date, this Emergency AD requires using the date of receipt of this Emergency Airworthiness Directive. So this one is applicable upon receipt, whereas the EASA Emergency Airworthiness Directive was applicable as of November 29th. Also included in the exceptions of the FAA Airworthiness Directive are where the EASA Airworthiness Directive specifies a compliance time of before next flight after the effective date of their airworthiness directive. This Emergency Airworthiness Directive requires a compliance time of before further flight after November 29th, which is today. The other two exceptions are where the EASA Airworthiness Directive defines Group 1 airplanes as those having an affected ELAC installed and being in one of the configurations defined in the AOT. This Emergency Airworthiness Directive defines Group 1 airplanes as those having an affected ELAC installed and being in one of those configurations defined in paragraph 1 of the Airbus Alert Operations Transmission, AOT. The fourth exception is where EASA Emergency Airworthiness Directive specifies a ferry flight is permitted. This Emergency Airworthiness Directive by the FAA allows special flight permits to be issued in accordance with 14 CFR 21.197 and 21.199 to operate the airplane without passengers and in non-ETOPS operations to a location where the airplane can be modified. And once again, that ETOPS is a certification that a plane has where it can fly over a remote area or over water for long periods of time. I obtained this not all-inclusive 14 CFR Part 21.197 from the FAA's website, and these are the most common requests for special flight permits. So flying the aircraft to a base where repairs, alterations, or maintenance are to be performed, or to a point of storage, flying an aircraft whose annual inspection has expired to a base where an annual inspection can be accomplished, flying an amateur-built aircraft whose condition inspection has expired to a base where the condition inspection can be accomplished, delivering or exporting the aircraft, production flight testing of a new production aircraft, and evacuating aircraft from an area of impending danger, and conducting customer demonstration flights, or to authorize the operation of an aircraft at a weight in excess of its maximum certification takeoff weight. And here are the conditions where the FAA may issue one of these special flight permits. So when its registered owner or operator and agent registers an aircraft, applicants submit an application to the FAA, and the FAA determines the aircraft is eligible and meets one of their conditions and is in a condition for safe operation. Here's an expanded version of 14 CFR 21.197 from ECFR. I'm not going to read the full thing. The BBC reported that this emergency airworthiness directive affected about 6,000 planes globally, with a lot of them only requiring a quick software update and they were able to return to service, and about 900 older planes requiring a replacement computer. I'll keep checking back to see what other additional details I can find about this emergency airworthiness directive. Follow my page if you would like to stay up to date on travel tips and aviation safety alerts.